says that the street light was out somewhere, let's see, Mill Street, corner
Okay.
of Brook Mill, and then
Well, better than 160,000 a year. That's,
I think that's so
I
much.
have no idea, I couldn't tell you, but.
well, I'm gonna find
something
out.
about parking, and then street parking,
I know. What,
and
I know
then
what-
something about cleaning up.
But anyway.
No,
Okay. If you would put it in my box, Mr. Cosgrave,
Sure.
and then I'll address it tomorrow.
Will do.
Thank you.
Debbie, just to let you know, when we live stream, if your video is on, you show up on YouTube, just so you know.
Okay.
In case you want to turn off your video.
That's okay.
Does that apply for me also?
What, that you show up on YouTube? Yes.
Now that I can turn off my video, having a bad hair day here.
That's why I wanted to have.
So we have, is there a camera in here?
It's not in here yet, so I brought in my webcam from home to put over here so that it picks up at least most of council
I got you.
instead of just me.
So are we looking at a webcam?
Yeah,
Like, is it on your computer?
it's sitting in front of Chief's spot.
Wow.
You were, he got it over there heading this way. I think
Yeah, I
you should
can
turn
see it, Chuck. Huh.
Guys.
All right, you are,
Then you're gonna be talking, you're looking at 10, 11, yeah.
you guys are recording
Yes,
online and you got the recorder started, Brian?
yes, no.
All right,
We might have two, maybe three.
you're good to get finance started,
You know, get the chin pushed up here.
and we will have one piece of new business. At least
I have
one.
one. Which one do you have, Mayor?
Our street paving ordinance.
Yes, please. Thank you.
At 6:02, called it Finance Committee to order. Brian, will you do roll call for me?
Keller,
Present.
Hankison,
Present.
Cosgrave,
Present.
Also in attendance, we got the mayor, we got the village administrator, Cisco officer, we got Brian Holbrook, and we got Debbie Schaffner also as the guest. And a couple other council members. Okay. Approval of the minutes of August 9th, 2021. I've read them. I don't know if the rest of you did, but I find them to be okay. Go
I'll
ahead.
make the motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second that.
Wait a second. Roll call there, Brian.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Hankison,
Yes.
Keller.
Yes. Okay, visitors. Debbie, you got anything to say?
I do not, thank you. Just
Okay.
visiting.
Okay. Any of the other council members want to say anything? Okay, goals for 2021. And of course, this here being September, keep spending within the 2021 appropriation. And I think so far we're doing that, aren't we, Brian?
Yes.
Okay. We better anyhow. We'll fire you. I'm kidding you. Old business, none. New business, review the monthly financials. Okay, Brian, take over.
Okay, so,
I gotta find what you're talking at.
okay, so bank reconciliation, we end up with a book and bank balance of $2,402,383. We had outstanding checks of $55,909. One deposit transfer, $554.57. The reconciling item between the accounts is $5 this month. It's normal transfer between the sweep and the general account. The bank does that every day. Pretty much it for the reconciliation.
Okay.
Moving on to the, no questions then?
No, I don't have any.
Next is the check register for August. Last month, we wrote $216,571 in checks last month. See if anything really sticks out.
But there's one something
Okay,
I looked at them earlier today. No, maybe it was the payment listing. I was looking. Is that what you're looking at?
yeah, the payment listing, that's, I call
Okay.
that the check register.
Yeah, that's what the, something I'm gonna ask you.
I've got a lot of pages of.
Yep. The last page just gives you the.
Oh, the one I see was Cox Concrete. You
Yes.
paid them 6,000, then it's readjusted for 3,000.
Yes. If you remember correct, what's the name of that company? The people who shared the cost with us? Terry?
It was the developers for the Dollar General Schultz's. We approached them and asked them to pay for half of the
That
sidewalk, and they agreed to that.
Yeah,
So that's why there's a credit.
So there's a credit because I invoiced them. And that's not really a receipt. That's just offset the payments. So that puts the money
Right.
back.
Okay. Yeah, and I see where he put the dirt up, and that's all.
Yeah.
It looks good.
I think it looks great. Guys did a good job.
Yeah, that negative adjustment represents their share of the cost.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Well, I hope I run the roof, I suppose.
Yeah, that's for the roofing work
Yeah.
on the various buildings.
Wade or Bob, you got any questions here?
No, I didn't see
Yeah, I
anything.
didn't see, yeah, understanding.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay. Moving on then to this,
That's right.
the metrics. Okay, Star Ohio got us a grand total of $33.56 in interest last month.
And there's no place to put it.
There's no place, there's no other
There is
place to
nowhere
put
to
it.
go.
No.
We're doing the same thing at the fire department.
But as you can see from the last 2 years, we're down $160 a year ago and $960 from 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know,
Mhm.
I know interest, you know, when stock does good, interest goes down. So,
Right.
of course, 2 years ago, stock was up too, so the interest. So, too bad we don't have it in stock right now because it would be paying good.
That'd be too risky.
Yeah, I know, I'm just making a comment.
I looked at the revised code to try to figure out, because we're not allowed to gamble with public money and stocks kind of gambling. But I searched through the revised code to see if we could do a safer type of gamble, more of a mutual fund CD type thing. But pretty much anything that goes through the stock market is going to be problematic for us. Because I was thinking the same thing. I mean, you know, on a mutual fund, you can make $30 in a day if you with the money we have in there.
Yep.
But because it has the possibility of
risk.
risk
no insurance.
and losing the value, we can't do it. And that's where our problem comes in.
On the brighter side, I will say that the interest from Park National was about $3 higher.
Is that right?
I was shocked. I was like, is that right? Because it's never been higher than Star Ohio, but it was this month.
Gee.
Well, if that's the case, can't we open another account at Park and transfer all of our Star to Park and then back?
For a whole whopping $3. I don't even know if that would be worth it. I don't know.
I mean, it's just your time.
See, Rita moving on, Rita. Let's
Yeah.
see,
Bravo.
Rita, let's see, 56,000 last month from in income tax collections. Now, as you can see, that's about half of what we got last year, but
Yeah.
remember correct, the tax season was extended last year to July 15th, so
Right.
that's the reason why. Overall, I still believe we're ahead of the curve from last year, slightly. we're ahead of the curve. We're right about where we were last year. This time.
Okay, yeah, I see. I know we had a couple of good months there, June and July.
Appropriations, yeah,
Cool. Well, you just brought that up and you know how we love data.
okay.
Can we complicate your Rita graph a little bit more
Mhm.
and add another axis on the right-hand side so we can see the trends, so we can see where we were at last year compared to this year overall?
Yes.
For total disbursements, yeah,
For what?
for total disbursements.
For total disbursement.
Because right now it's just, that's how much we get each
Oh,
month.
you mean like a,
So do a trend line for 2020 and 2021, put a right axis on it so that we can see where we're at overall. So we can see how it tracks.
okay, well.
Terry, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I'm
before we
with
had,
it.
You're
Yeah.
better at,
All right. So Brian and Terry will have some training on that and we'll see how it goes.
okay.
Cool.
Appropriation status, what's the 8/12? That's, this one. We're at about 68, 69%.
No, it can't be 69,
It's-
because that would be almost,
Well, this month will be
That's-
75%.
2/3,
yeah. that's
6.67.
8/12 is 2/36. Okay, so yeah, you're right.
Or you get the 8.
So as you can see, the sewer, like I said, the sewer operating is finally catching up from the beginning of the year. We're right on line there at 67.5%. So the street's really down because we haven't had any road projects yet, so.
Yeah. Doesn't look like we're gonna do much this year, so moving on.
And the revenue status, we did get our second allotment of property tax collections. Came in above projections by, I don't know, a couple grand or so. Income tax for the general fund is above the curve, so is local government distribution. So is property tax allocation, which is rollback and homestead. Contracts for police protections, same. Well, really, all the lines in the general fund are above the curve where they should be.
And when we get to the next one, you'll tell us if there's any we got to worry about. Right?
Lastly, I have the appropriation status here.
Yeah.
Let's see, we're at, like I said, we're at 62% of the general fund, 39% of street fund, water funds, 54, pool, 82%. Now, the pool just ended, so.
Yeah.
So does that mean the pool's going to end the year
At
ahead of the curve?
82%? No, because I still
No.
have one more payroll, I still got to pay electricity over there, telephone, so, there's, and the team had to go to Ace Hardware to get a couple things to close the pool down, so there's a few more charges.
All right, when we're looking at stuff in the general fund, is there anything? Most of them are below 66, but there's a couple that are above, but is that just based on how they're allocating out?
Yeah, I mean, like property tax collection fees, that's done, so that'll
Done for the
end.
year. Okay.
That's done for the year.
Our health department is done for
That's
the
done for
year.
the year too.
What about, I guess, I don't know.
What's that?
Sorry, I saw the 77 and then realized that was the property tax. I thought it was auditor or state fees. I was getting the lines confused there,
No.
right below it.
No, that's already been encumbered, UAN, auditor state.
Yeah.
That's UAN fees. I paid too bad, I got a bill for this month, so that'll be 75% next month.
And our capital outlays a little higher because of projects.
Yeah, but that's pretty much done. I think we have one outstanding payment. That's for part of the cost for the new, what do you call that thing? That tells people speed. We bought
Yeah,
a transporter thing to put it on so they can move it around.
a trailer.
A trailer, yeah. Overall, grand total, all funds is right around where we should be at 67%. I finally caught up making all those debt payments at the beginning of the year, and that's why it was above the curve the whole year until now. Which I just made a bonds payment this week, or this past week, I should say. So that is it. That's all I have.
Anybody have any questions for Brian? Okay, go ahead, no. Yeah, I need a motion to approve the financials.
Cosgrave, make a motion, we approve all the financial reports for this month.
Okay,
Hankinson, second.
roll call there, Brian.
Keller,
Yes.
Hankinson.
Yes.
Cosgrave.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. All right. Resolution 2021-22. I don't know if I got that or not. I'm looking for it. Is that the
Yeah,
one? you did?
That's what I threw on there. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I sent it late in the day today. You should have had 3 resolutions. And one of them, Jeff just got done for me. It's the street paving.
Oh, okay.
That's 26.
I got it. Yeah, I did download it.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're on Brian's
Yes,
2021. Okay, Brian, go ahead, please.
that's we're certifying the tax rates of the county auditor. We had a first reading last month, and you mentioned something about how to go through committee. If it was a first reading, I'm just bringing you to that's what this is. We're just certifying our tax rates. I gotta do that by October 1st of every year. That's why we have 2 meetings left this month, so it can go for the 3 readings. It's what do they set it at, 1.9, something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's
there's
what it
nothing
is.
we can do about it.
No,
Just, yeah, I do remember that. I said when we bypass committee and we just, so we bring it up tonight, and so when we do finally pass it, yeah. So anybody have any questions on like the county, we can't fight City Hall, I guess.
that's part of the tax budget process.
And they're not
Yeah.
gonna give us any more money.
No, they're not giving us any more money. Unless the values go up, then we get it.
So, anybody else have anything for finance tonight? That was,
Well,
Yes.
Yes,
We've got-
we have the 2026, the one that I sent out late in the day on the street paving. I wanted to explain a little bit about this one. As you know, our OPWC bid didn't go, so we then separately went back out and bid out streets. And we were more than 10% above the engineer's estimate for street paving, which means we automatically cannot accept the bid, which was already like $70,000 to $80,000 more than we had anticipated. So so I worked with B3 and also with Jeff, and we came up with, we knew the 2 streets that really needed to be paved was Maple and Johnson, and that's because we installed those water lines. So what we did is we had a list of pavers that we went out to and asked them if they could do this job, keeping it under 49.9, under 50,000, not to exceed 50,000. Yeah, right. And AmeriCorps came back, and you'll see along with this ordinance, I also included the picture of the map. And here I was trying to go down in Brad's screen. The picture of the map down below to show you the location of the streets that we're going to do. And so you could understand a little better. So we're going to do Maple from High to Basel. That's the top picture. And then on the bottom, it'll be from Park to Granville. And these are where we laid the 2 water lines this year. Now, if you go back up, Brad, so you can see what the spec is.
Do you guys have it in front of you, or do you want me to
I
throw it
got
up on the
it. No, I
screen?
got it. If you guys, if you want
Yeah, I
to
got
see it.
Okay.
Are you going to go back up?
Yep.
Okay. So I want you to go up, up, up. Stop. Wait a minute. Yeah, keep going a little bit.
Page 1.
Right here, I wanted to talk about what we're going to do. If you
The option
remember,
1 and option 2.
right, we're going to do both options. And you'll see that we are going to mill at 4 inches depth and then pave at 2-inch depth, which is different than Johnson. And this is the reason why Maple Street has had so many coats, surfaces put on them that we have lost our curbs. There are curbs on Maple Street. So we figure that if we do, if we go down and only put back 2 inches, then we will recapture those curbs. Now, the importance of that is that will help us with our stormwater issue in that area. So that is why that's very specific under that option 1. We think this will help. So I wanted to explain that a little better. We don't have that same opportunity at Johnson. There are no curbs there. But so this will take care of the 2 streets that were, I don't want to say destroyed, but pretty much they're a mess when we put the water lines in. So
Hey,
I would
Terry.
like, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was going to say, can you just explain? I know you and I have talked about it, but for the rest of council that's here, when you say the OPWC didn't go, what you mean by that?
Oh,
with
okay,
regards to
sure.
The costs and
Sure, and that's what it is. So when we bid out OPWC, we only got 1 bid on the whole project. We had asked special permission to put our street paving project in with our OPWC grant, which was Baltimore. When it came back, the grant again was more than 10% over the engineer's estimate, just like the streets were. So we couldn't accept the bid, and we did some research to say, okay, why were you so high? Why isn't anybody else bid? Well, it's come back that really all the big paving companies have more jobs than they can handle between now and Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the drop dead date for asphalt. All the jobs that ODOT's doing that you see all of this, we got Shelley and Strasser and all the big companies have more work than they can handle right now. So because of that, when I say that we didn't get bids, we don't lose our grants, but instead come probably February, before they start making up their schedules for the year, we will send that whole packet back out to be rebid. So at that time, I anticipate more than 1 bidder, number 1. And number 2, I hope by that time, the price of materials has went down a bit. Now I see the price of wood is coming down a little bit, but the price of asphalt is not. And that is the stickler. That's where we have our biggest money. So again, we're not going to lose our grant. We're going to rebid it in February. And that's why when we said the OPWC didn't go, that's what it meant.
so we don't get our paving done this year. We'll get it done next year because it's at a premium this year, in short.
Okay, so we're
The
talking
good
2
news is
different
we get it
things.
done eventually.
Okay, so 2 different things. So OPWC, that has paving on Park Drive. So yes, that will be done next year. And our whole street projects, that also, which is separate from the OPWC now, we will rebid that out in February also. So to your point, you're kind of right, Mayor. I just didn't want to mix the
Right.
OPWC and the streets together.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I need is for someone to sponsor this, because I really need to have this. The reason why AmeriCode was able to do this job for us is because, believe it or not, they had a cancellation. And so when Tim talked to him last week, they said the only week they had open was this week we're in right now. They believe that they can come in. If we give them an okay tomorrow, they can even come in and start milling. So that's why I'll need to have this passed as an emergency. So I'll need somebody from committee to sponsor it. So when we get into council, we can pass it as an emergency.
But Terry, are we doing option 1 and 2?
That is correct.
Okay, so this is shy below 50,000 in.
That is correct. And they are very well, they know that there are going to be no upcharges. If you remember last year, we had a total mess with upcharges. This year, there will be no upcharges, and I have to approve everything. So I think they're doing us a good deal. I think this is a good price for what we need to have done. And to be able to turn it around for us so quickly is another thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, pass it tonight and they start milling in the morning.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll be right in the morning, but they'll be here tomorrow or Wednesday at the latest. So yes, this
Okay,
is a
I'll make a
quick
motion that
turnaround.
we go with, let's see what that company again. American Coat Asphalt and Concrete to do Maple and do East Johnson Street.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Brian?
Keller,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll get that done tonight and get the council on board.
That's great. I really appreciate it. It's good. Thank you.
Yep.
That's all I have then, Mr. Keller.
Is that all we had on finance, Terry?
Yes.
Well, Terry, do we need to do the 2021-15, the tabled ordinance with the updated contract with Thurston?
Do we untable that from finance, or do we do that in council?
And council.
We'll do that. We can do that, but if we got a few minutes,
okay.
since it is financials and we got DC on, who can maybe give us a quick update on it, and everyone's got the contract right there, the revised contract with Thurston. That way the contract itself has been back through committee as well. Thank you, Brian.
When was that, Mayor?
That'd be 2021-15. Mr. Hamilton is sponsoring that. And that is the contract for police services in Thurston. If everyone remember, we went through 2 readings and then Thurston's solicitor had a problem with it. Thurston has since worked that out. And then when we got it back, we needed to get the updated contract language, which is what we have here. And so at council tonight, I anticipate Jeff telling us he's reviewed it and is okay with us untabling it. And
Chief Tucky's okay with it too, man.
yep.
Oh, Brian, he's there.
Yep, I think that they did update the terms because obviously they were shooting for a July 1 date. It still stays 23,000 a year, but the date will go September 15th instead of July 1 to June 31, just because of the delay.
Do you remember who sponsored that?
Mike.
Oh, Mike. Okay, Mike, you got that tonight?
I got it, but I'm not reading it the way you just said it. So evidently, you got a different, or the same number ordinance, but reworded.
Right, the agreement, which was the exhibit to the ordinance, was updated with the dates. I believe the amount stayed the same. That's correct, DC? I have to pull up an old one. Yeah, I think the 23,000 stayed the same. We just, because of the delay, changed the dates. And Thurston, it's my understanding, has passed this through their council and signed off on it already. Jeff, I'm sure we'll have a little bit more if we have anything, because he was in contact with them about it. But at least this way, when we're in finance and it has to do with money, Brian will have to adjust his police services contracts for the last couple months of the year.
I'll just factor this in next year.
Yeah.
Next year's budget.
Well, we get some this year.
Yeah, we get some this year, but I'm just be over above and beyond what we.
There we go.
anticipated.
Oh, okay.
But that way we have time. That way, if we had questions or something, we could talk about it. And if I can't answer them, we'll have a list for when Jeff gets here. And if not, that's it.
Do you know if with Pleasantville, I don't have to invoice them, they just mail us a check every month? I don't think it's specified in this contract. Am I gonna have to invoice them, or I guess I give it to fiscal officer?
Yeah, I just give the fiscal officer.
I think that's the way to go.
Mike, you got any questions or anything right now?
What was the amount again?
23,000 a year,
3,000. Okay.
paid in
First page there.
paid in 12 equal monthly installments. My guess is, Brian, because it's 23,000 a year in 12 installments, you'll probably just start getting a check. You should. But if they want an invoice for their records, it's easy enough to generate.
Yeah, I'll work it out with, his name.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, Ted's
yeah,
kid, Aaron.
Aaron Reed, yeah.
Yep,
Oh, he's their,
Yeah, yeah.
yep.
yeah, so Mike would just have to remove it from the table and then we'll just, adopt that as the third reading.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, anything else on finance? Anybody else have anything? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. The next meeting is October 11th at 6 o'clock.
Fun stuff.
You need a cord? I got my cord.
I'm gonna head home real quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're not on rules though, right, Wade? Okay,
So Mike.
yeah.
Rick and me.
I think Brian, because we're back live, I think Brian's flipping the recording. We're back to that. Online, we'll just keep it recording, but recording.
Mhm.
All right, good to go.
We'll call the Rules Committee meeting to order at not 5,
6:30.
5, only 6:32. Why is this one? Brian, can we have a roll call?
Hamilton,
Present.
Keller,
Present.
Foreman.
Present.
And we also have the mayor, Terry, fiscal officer, and the assistant chief. Present. Yeah.
Oh, say you and Mike.
Okay. Yeah, you gotta share this with me.
Isn't it brand new?
I think
On out A's. Like you for that.
Chuck, you or Rick going over the minutes from the last meeting?
Yeah, I did. I'll move that the approve the minutes of the August 9th meeting.
And I'll second it.
Brian, could you do the roll call again for that?
Hamilton,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Foreman.
Yes.
3 that will be approved. Any visitors?
Debbie's still on there. Just listening.
Okay,
I'm here.
no, okay, just quiet. Huh? 2021 goals, cemetery project.
Mr. Hamilton, we continue to work on the cemetery project. We are getting close to having most of the older books recorded. I hope to have this project, I had said would go into next year, but I am really pushing to have the project done by the end of this year because I regret to inform you that Barb is leaving us at the end of the year. So there's a lot to do, and I want to make sure that we get most of the cemetery work done before Barb leaves. So she will be leaving at the end of the year. So more to come on that, but we're moving right along. I had a conversation today with the state cemetery and licensing and indigent burials. They are asking us now to change our forms a little bit. If you remember right, when we had the indigent burial at the beginning of the year, I submitted for a grant to collect back the funds for that. They just got back with me last month and they want us to tweak our forms a little bit. So I'll be working with Jeff. I just got off the phone with her at 4 o'clock today. So So working a lot on the cemeteries to get those around. Lots of work there.
Okay.
She's lucky she got off before.
Rules of council.
Yeah, I would like to skip over to the pay plan and spend the meeting time on the pay plan, please. As a reminder, I sent out, is that okay, Mr. Hamilton?
Fine.
Thank you. So as a reminder, I sent out that comparison matrix that we did to show you what the wages were in other villages compared to the village of Baltimore. Mr. Foreman asked me to also collect some information about Violet Township and et cetera, since we tend to have people go that way. That was not in that matrix, but verbally, I can tell you that Violet Township starts at $22 an hour. We had a person that left from Baltimore that went over there with no license and ended up making $27 an hour, which was more than they were making here. They are in negotiations right now in Violet Township, and they feel that by the first of the year, their hourly rate will be $31 an hour. So I don't know if that's a good comparison, but I know that Mr. Foreman asked me to go after that amount, and I did. So as I look, I also want to let you know that we are not the only village that is struggling to look at our pay plan. There are other ones. So we have options. We can look at this pay plan and among the council people decide, well, we're going to continue to do like we always do with the 3% increments, you know, our potential 3% increments, or even look at the base pay. There are some villages that are going out and hiring attorneys to come in and help them just restructure. Also, and I say that because also included in your packet is another document that Mr. Foreman requested, and that was for what are the current wages for all of our current employees. So based on what I just told you about Violet Township and the other matrix, you can see where we all stand.
So, hey, Terry,
Yes, I'm open for discussion. I want this to be a discussion. Yes.
I guess my first question would be, because we are doing this other places as well and stuff. I guess my first question would be, especially since everybody right now is using that $15 an hour as a base minimum wage. Have we, I guess this is a two-part thing, so let me try to get through it. First off, when we do our 3% raises, I don't think in the past couple of years we've actually adjusted the pay scale, hence the reason we got the pay plan on the rules agenda. We haven't been adjusting the minimum pay up to keep up with that. But my next question is, or I guess my first question is, have we done a comparison of, you know, we set these rates for our employees with recognition that minimum wage is now what, $9.10 an hour. If we hold that constant and we were to increase and say our minimum wage was $15 an hour, what would all of our employee wages increase to, keeping that same differential between the two, so that we could basically compare if minimum wage were to suddenly change tomorrow to $15 an hour, what to maintain the same hourly rate above the minimum wage, that same percentage, what do we have to adjust them to? I know a number of businesses have been doing that to develop plans for increasing their existing employees' wages, because if we all of a sudden say, well, the only way we're going to get someone to come work for us is if we pay them $15 an hour, and we've got employees already making less than $15 an hour, you know, that person with no experience with us is getting more than the person that's been here for 5 years. So what do we have to adjust them up to maintain that current ratio? Does that make sense?
Not only does that make sense, we ran into that scenario with our summer help. We had to pay our summer help $15 an hour. Prior to the summers, we were only paying them 10. So the person that came on for summer help now is only $1 below Peg, who has been here for several years. So you can see that it is definitely out of whack.
Right. And so but I take it then you and Brian haven't done that analysis yet?
The analysis that you just asked me about?
Well, I was asking if we'd done it, and if not, then I was suggesting that we probably should do it.
Okay. No, I haven't did that. We had in our conversations I didn't know that's what you wanted, because when I came here 5 years ago, I inherited this pay plan. And at that time, 5 years ago, if you were to get another license, you got a quarter an hour raise. That was 5 years ago. Now the market is such that wastewater treatment and water treatment people are in such high demand. I mean, it's just out of sight. And that's why I am trying to help curb the sins or whatever of the past so that we can get up, so we have good people. Right now we have a good staff, and that staff is knowledgeable enough to lay water lines and to do everything else. And the last thing I want them to do, to Mr. Foreman's point, is to go to Violet Township and make, you know, what, $31 an hour. So,
Yep.
So that was my whole purpose, Mayor. And no, I didn't do what you asked. I didn't know that's what you would like, but I am open to it. I think
and I might not have been as clear when we talked about it in the past, might not have been as clear when I was talking about the comparison, because we were talking about municipality to municipality comparison. So
Correct.
that's my bad. But you know, before we make any final decisions on the pay plan, and I know we're not anywhere close to that today, I think it would be important for everybody to see here's what everybody's wage is at right now, and then if we hold ratio of current wage to minimum wage constant and move up to $15 an hour, what they would be at. And then we have a place to start working to talk about and come up with a plan so that they don't run to Violet Township.
The pay raise
Well,
that we got
go ahead, sir.
was for 2019. Is there a 2020?
Okay, Brian, do you want to answer that question for Mr. Foreman? He's looking at the employees' pay scale.
Yeah, that's what it says, 2019 at top. I
Yeah,
forgot to adjust.
Well, she said that like Peg was only $1 above $15 an
Well,
hour,
okay.
and on here she's not.
That 2019 should actually be 2021. That should be 2021.
But
So-
then she said Peg was $1 an hour above a lifeguard, but on this she's not.
Right.
Yeah. No,
Not a
Well, I think-
lifeguard,
part-time.
Or part-time.
Service and pay.
part-time
Right.
seasonal.
Well, what he's saying, Brian, is on this one, Peg would be is it
That's her rate. That's her current rate.
13.7.
It says 2019. I forgot to change the date.
no? So her current rate is 14.11.
Yes.
So Peg was actually making less than the person working for her this summer.
No, he's making
making 10.
He's making 13.
Oh, 13.
13. Sorry, I thought it was 15.
New hourly rate is their current.
That's
hourly
their
rate,
current-
Not their new hourly rate.
That's the
Oh.
current rate.
Okay, that's the confusing part.
Yeah.
Now I understand
It's
it
the
better.
current rate.
Okay. That's what you asked for, Mr. Foreman. You wanted their current rate they were making now, and that's why I gave you that matrix from Brian.
Right.
Okay, well, but it's dated 2019.
Yeah, I know.
And saying hourly wage,
when I-
and the new one.
When I
It's
updated, I
confusing.
forgot to change it.
Okay.
I forgot
I
to change.
just trying to clarify.
Yeah. No.
So the new hourly rate.
Is their
their
current
current-
hourly
Just take-
rate.
Yeah. Go clear over to the right-hand side.
So yeah. So
2021.
this column right here is their
Current.
2021 rate.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
a 2021.
one over there is 2020.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
How long have they been here compared to?
She's been full-time since 2017.
Right.
So she's making, but going back to it, a little over $1 more than the part-time guy.
Correct. And if she goes to, racks or I mean, she can make $15 an hour at fast food. Of course, she doesn't have the benefits. And that's what I tell everyone. You still have benefits that you're not going to get in other places, but
Right. But then when we start looking, again, when we start to do this comparison and, we look at Joey, who I'm pretty sure he enjoys working here and we love having him and he's a great worker, but I'm not going to fault him if, someplace else comes along and poaches him away because he's got a water license and a wastewater 1 license. I mean, that he is highly marketable right now.
And the sad part about what you just said is that what he currently makes, we probably can't get an operator in here for that amount.
Right.
I think Tyler's probably low hanging fruit as well.
Yep. He could make $3 an hour more right now going to Violet Township.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, I would hope that he's our future when it comes to the street department. I mean, he's really stepping up and doing a great job.
Yeah. So we got to do something. We just got to figure out what that something is in those amounts. And I think that's where that comparison will help. We now know what other villages and municipalities are at. But now we just need to see if we adjusted our base minimum wage, for lack of a better term, up to even $13 an hour. And maybe, Terry, that's a good place to do it for when you and Brian do it. Maybe do it if we adjust because it's once you get the formula done, it's easy to do. Maybe do it for, $11 through $15 an hour.
Okay. I will do that per your request, but I also think that that's not going to get us where we need to get to. That's why, I don't know, would it behoove us to bring a legal group in that does this kind of stuff and say, here we are, look at this, what do you think? And at least get a legal opinion or not. I mean, if council feels as though they feel comfortable in going through this and keep asking me for information, I'm good with that, but I want you to know there are other options because I think this is very hard to do. I think we're in a time in this country when it comes to wages wise that we haven't seen. And I think it's what's making everything restless, shall we say.
Well, I think we can get there because if you got the spreadsheet out there and we hold it constant, it'll show us what they should be at if we said our minimum wage is $13 an hour or $15 an hour. It'll show us that, right now, Tim is 232.6% above minimum wage. And if you move it to $15 an hour, here, while you guys talk, I'll do the math.
Oh, okay, so I'll talk.
It
So
also disregards what they could be making somewhere else when we're just comparing it to a flat rate.
that is correct. And I agree with Mr. Foreman because this is the other thing. Right now, I feel as though our pay plan is sort of broken. So what we're trying to do is use it as our datum point to try to see if we want to go forward when is it broken enough that we need to just redesign? That's what I'm trying to say. What do they always say? Garbage in, garbage out. I don't want that to be this process.
Right. And all I'm saying is, and hopefully Tim doesn't listen to this and get any ideas, because if we held it constant, his current hourly rate, if we set $15 an hour as a minimum wage and held the ratio the same, he would be at over $70 an hour.
Yeah, you can.
And we can't do that. But I
Yeah.
think that's important information for us to have when we're comparing it to other municipalities, where if we held it constant, if we're talking about, and the reason I know this is because I am familiar with a private company that said they set their minimum wage at $15 an hour.
But we
And then
also,
they had to go back and say, well, all of our other employees now need adjusted up. And one of the things they did is look at what the employees would have been at if they started at $15 an hour and then got all their same percentage wage increases to see where they were at. It's not practical for us to go up to $70 an hour for someone, but that shows us where we're at had it been there. And then we get up the other municipalities in there to start being able to say, okay. And I think that's the information we need to rewrite the pay plan.
well, you also gotta look at the individual. You can't just say, okay, this job pays this to this to this, because we know that when it comes to backhoe or some equipment, we know who can get on there and can do that work. And we know that, you know, some people are just, they just have a shovel and they're the shovel person. And we got some people that can be the operator. So I think that's why, you know,
So-
I'm not trying to pick on anybody here, but I think that's why you go from 10 to 30 or Joey at 20 or Tyler at 17, then you go to pay at 14 or 15
Mhm.
because
But but they're already in different pay classifications based on those
their
required
knowledge or
skills.
experience or skills, you know.
But
How long has Tyler been here? Because has he moved classifications really in the time he's
No.
been here?
Yeah, he's
He
always been.
seems to be more, he's always been in the same position, but he's more on the equipment and in the hole than anybody else used to be. I mean, Joey used to be, but now Tyler is.
That's because he's.
And that's by
Yeah.
design.
so it's the same thing, but going to Chuck's point, then if we want to, on one hand, reward everyone for that additional knowledge and skill set, but we have to look at not just the pay plan, but our job classifications then, because as soon as, we'll use Peg, as soon as she learns how to run a backhoe, and that's not in her current classification, then we got to bump her up to the next classification because she now has that skill set to move up to that next level of worker, and those pay scales have to overlap. I believe when anybody gets an additional skill set that is beneficial, they should get some sort of bump in it. But we want to make sure that the pay scale for where she's at now and where it would be kind of overlap, the upper end and the lower ends, and they kind of meet so that we can easily move them between them.
Yeah, I see.
So it's more than just the pay scale.
See, it'd be nice if I can see Liberty Township, because some of them people do, they bring people in just to mow cemeteries. And that's, you know, it's not on there. Because that's mostly what, you know, you look at Peg at in her classification, that's what she usually does, you know.
Do we have
Wintertime
anybody
to
else?
leave.
She takes care of also the parks and the shelter houses and all of that busy work that nobody else wants to do on the inspections and stuff. So
Peg is
I'm
pretty
saying
much
that,
parks and cemeteries.
Yeah,
She is our parks department and our cemeteries department.
right. And that's what I'm saying. Do we need to maybe look at the whole structure? You know, should she not even be in streets? You know, I have a thought. I've been working on sort of a design that I think a redesign for the departments that I think will be better based on their skill sets. To Mr. Foreman's point, you know, we got Tyler who is learning new skills. You know, we have a summer helper, which I think has come a long ways. We have leave collection starting up. I think there's a whole lot of contributing factors. And that's why I said, do we want to try to do this ourselves, or do we want to bring someone in that does this kind of work to help us get ourselves centered? Because you're right, we're never going to be able to afford what Violet Township pays or Pickerington or Lancaster. You know, we just don't have those kind of budgets.
And while we're looking at this, the same arguments go for police officers. I mean, right now the part-time guys are at $13 an hour. And, you know, the guy, I don't want to, it's going to be an unfair comparison, but, you know, we paid a part-time summer guy to mow the same cost that we pay the officers who could go out and get shot.
Yeah.
And there is a disparity there and something wrong with that. So when we're looking at this, and that part-time pay is part of the reason we've had some difficulties getting officers in on a regular basis to be able to help patrol hours. Now, Chief and DC have, we've been working on that, and we've got some officers and they've been out, and there's been more patrols and more coverage. But it is something when we're looking at all of these plans, I think we need to make sure we include looking at police there too, because they are under industry standard.
And they went to school to be what they're at today. They got a little bit of more, I don't want to say education, but you know, a degree or a license, you know.
They are OPATA certified. Some of them might have college degrees, and they can, you know, a lot of the city departments that are hiring right out of the academy, as green can be, and you start out at 50 to 55 a year plus your overtime, you're making close to 70 a year.
Sure.
Just out of the academy.
Depending on where you go at too. If you want to go to a big city,
Yeah.
if
Now-
you want to go.
The flip side.
You pay and hazard pay.
Yeah, I
Yes.
would get hazard
Now,
pay, that's right.
The flip side to that though is then a lot of the ones that chief and deputy chief look for are those that have some experience. And so they don't have to spend as much time. They're not as green. So they have some experience, some community policing experience. So then we're not paying for the experience. So it's
I know.
we just got to make sure we include the police part-time pay when we're looking at these pay scales to bring everybody into parity.
Who else can run the backhoe here in town besides Jim?
Tim, Joey, Tyler's been on it.
Tyler can run it.
Can Tim
Brad.
Little?
Yeah, they can run it. Are they as
Correct.
good as Tim? No, they're not. You know, my cross-training, program has been, everybody needs to know how to do everything. They may not be the best at it, but they can. We're going to be doing some snowplow training. So everybody should be able to touch a piece of equipment and be able to do it. Maybe not as good as the person that really does it all the time.
I mean, if we're going by that standard, it's been 20 years, but I could run a backhoe 20 years ago.
So I'd like to hear, Council, what your thoughts are on this. Like, are you good with the way we're attacking it? Do you want me to see how much it will cost if somebody come in to restructure? What would you like to see? Since you're the decision makers.
That's my own opinion.
I agree with that. I've never seen third-party companies that gave me suggestions that I've found useful.
Okay.
They used to call them Pac-Man or something like that.
I'm going with the Bobs from Office Space.
Okay. All right.
I think we should at least try in-house. I think we can get a good start, and then if we need something specialized, look at it. But I think with getting the data.
Okay. Between now and the next rules meeting, if you have, once you look at all of the documents and stuff, if you have any questions, or you want to see something that you're not seeing, will you email me so that when we get into a meeting, I have all of the information laid out for you?
I mean, to that end, is there anything right now that we know? Like, I'd ask for the comparison.
Yeah. But when you look at I'm looking at the one here, the minimum and the maximum. Every year when we give somebody like a 3% raise, we should automatically change the hourly maximum. You know what I mean? We just should do that because nobody can just max out because life is always getting a raise.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good point.
I never look at the bottom and or the high and the low because they're just mostly just to, I guess, a low and a high is mostly just as, when you hire somebody, you want them, but you also, you look at what you have now. You want to say, okay, we're gonna hire John Doe here and then give him way above somebody else, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I guess if I'm remembering correctly, though, when you bring that up, I think this year, whether we get completely through wage adjustments or not by the end of the year, Terry, am I incorrect in thinking that we have to adjust the maximum on a couple of them right now
Yes.
because some of them are maxed out? So if council were to give a 3% raise, according to our pay plan, they couldn't get it.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Every year when we give people an increase, we should change that too.
Yeah. I agree with you, Mr. Keller. I think that's something that we should be doing each year. You know, it's just like one of those things that just never got done because I guess we never have been in the kind of, you know, atmosphere we're in now when it comes to wages and et cetera. So I think I've written that down. I think that's a good point as far as to incorporate in our new plan.
And Terry, maybe, I mean, we've got the cost comparison matrix from around here, but maybe for the meeting, just what are other job postings out there? I just looked on the Ohio Municipal League. Here is a service worker, manual labor, sewer, water, sanitary, streets, runs dump trucks, snow plows, backhoes, loaders, mows, weed eats, $17 an hour. And we see where Tyler's already at. Here, if you want to go over to Chardon, where they have their superintendent of water and sewer, 78,000.
Right. And the thing of it is with those jobs that you're seeing, and we do have that information, Mayor. I did go out and go on those websites, Barb and I both. So this is the thing, you know, is that job that they're advertising for $17 hasn't been filled.
Right.
Because if you go to the website where I advertise for the wastewater treatment plant and the water treatment plant operators, there are jobs that have been on there forever because they're not paying what it's going to take to get somebody. Does that make sense? You can advertise all day. I need a street guy for $15. But will you get a street guy for $15?
Right.
Well, this year, no, because most of them wants to get that government check. Maybe next year.
Absolutely, Chuck.
When we were talking about the maximum, is there any reason why we can't just go through and raise the maximums 20% across the board? Because it really is just kind of an imaginary number anyhow.
Yeah.
So I don't know why we wouldn't just take the maximums and catch up with what we haven't done over the last 10 years and just bump all of them 20%.
On the maximum on the pay scale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
can
do
do
that.
that, and that would solve the problem of everybody maxing out this year while we do
It's
pay
just an
stuff.
imaginary number anyway, and we're just behind the times in getting it up. So just raise it across the board, and then we're not bumping into it again next year.
Yeah.
Then from then on, we just raise it a little bit every year.
When you raise the pay wages, raise the maximum, because you're not really changing what you're paying out. You're just changing the top.
Right. That's a good idea.
No, I like it. I like it.
And we should maybe we should talk to Jeff and we could get that one going now so that we get that October, November, so that it's passed in plenty of time for the end of the year stuff.
Correct. I have it.
All right, cool. All right, anything else we want Terry to gather for us on this?
No, I know this is a hard one. I know it really is. Anytime that you talk somebody's paycheck, it's hard. It's even harder if, like, you know, the sign in the times. So I appreciate you all hanging in there with me to get this done right. And then just like I said, if there's anything at all that you would like to see, just shoot me an email. So at the next rules money, we can be prepared, because we have started working on projects. I'll talk about that in council. And so the budget probably is going to be ready pretty early this year. And number one, and number two, Brian's going to need those numbers for salaries. So, you know, we'll have that all to think about. Make sense?
business. Annexation process.
Oop, I don't think she heard you, Mike. Annexation process, Terry?
No, I'm sorry. That probably will carry over to next year. That's something Jeff and I is going to work on. And right now my plate is overflowing and Jeff is, I'm pulling a Jeff along with me. Plus he just got off a vacation, but that will probably stay on and go next year. Can only do so much.
Any other new business we haven't discussed?
No, that would be all that I have, Mr. Hamilton.
Chuck, you got anything?
No, I know.
Rick, you have anything?
Nope.
Next regular meeting will be held on the second Monday of October, October 11th at 6:45. Meeting following the council. The finance committee meeting.
Okay.
Motion for adjournment, Ted?
Foreman motions to adjourn.
Second.
Who seconded? I missed it.
Mr. Keller?
Yay, thank you.
Brian?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good man.
All right, so we have 24 minutes until council, so I am going to pause the recording and stop the live stream.
Oh, no.
You can't
We